Hello everyone, and welcome back. It is officially May 1st, which means it is time for me to further infiltrate the depths of BookTube by talking about everything that I read in April. Before we get started, make sure you grab yourself a tasty drink. Mine is tap water. For me, April was the month of starting a lot of books, but not finishing all of them. I began this month with My Struggle Book 6 by Karl Ove Knausgaard, and that book was so bad that I made an entire video dedicated to tearing it to shreds. Go see that if you haven't. After that, I tried to read the autobiography of Alice B Tolus by Gertrude Stein. That was my first attempt at reading a Gertrude Stein book. She has a really unique style, which I like. She doesn't use a lot of punctuation. Legitimately, my only issue with this book is that it is written for fans of Paris, and specifically artists in Paris hanging out, doing artist things. There's a lot of name drops of famous people from like the Picasso, Hemingway era, and it just didn't mean a lot to me. But I'm sure that there are people out there who this book will mean a lot to them too. Or something. I didn't finish it. I don't think that that's gonna be my last Gertrude Stein book. I'm just thinking I'm gonna look around and find maybe one that's more suited towards my interests. Up next, I read My Life As A Rat by Joyce Carol Oates. This was the first book of the month that I actually finished. Let's go! Give it up for me. Thank you. Okay. This book I view as having 3 thirds, and the first third is really incredible. Then you get to the second third, and it's not as good as the first third. And then you get to the third third, and you're like, what's going on? The way I would describe this book is it is 3 short stories that have all been combined into one story, and they've forced the main character to live through all 3 different short stories. Not my favorite, but also not like a terrible book. Not like Karl Ove's My Struggle series. Next up, I read In the Midst of Winter by Isabel Allende because I loved The House of the Spirits so much. And this book is no exception to the Isabel Allende being great and her books being awesome rule, because this book is awesome and great. It goes into a bit more detail about the whole counter-revolution / military dictatorship in Chile, and it also goes into the mass killings of the native population in Guatemala. And once again, it's a lot of stuff that I read about in the Jakarta Method that is now being novelized by Isabel Allende. I think that me reading the Jakarta Method back in January has really set me up for a great year, because all the books I'm reading are referencing it now, and I don't know how that happened. It's like that thing where you learn about something new and then suddenly you're seeing it everywhere. That's literally what's happening to me. Oh my gosh. Am I the main character? But this next book that I read was definitely the book of the month for me. It was Stories of the Sahara by San Mao. Folks, when I tell you that this book is excellent, you should just believe me. San Mao's writing, the only way that I can describe it is it's like Ernest Hemingway, but if Ernest Hemingway was actually a good writer. I like some of the Ernest Hemingway novels, but just not Ernest Hemingway. Him I don't like. I say I like some of the Ernest Hemingway novels. Pretty much I only liked Farewell to Arms, and that one was very sad. You know me, I get all my books from the library, but Stories of the Sahara was so good that I actually kind of want to have it on my bookshelf. So that speaks to how good that one is. It's delightful. What did I read next, you're probably wondering? Well, good news, I'm gonna tell you. I read Gather Together in My Name by Maya Angelou. Many years ago, I read I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, and I did not like it. And I deeply suspect that the reason that I did not like it was because I was a little Republican boy, and so I just couldn't handle her living her life without me judging everything that she did. But now I'm different, I'm a changed man, and so I opened up this book with my changed eyes, and I actually really enjoyed this book, but also this book is really crazy. Maya Angelou's life was crazy. This book is like her from the age of 17 to 19, and the things that she is getting up to, it's just a lot. There's this whole questionable scene in this book where she goes to visit some lesbians, and then she thinks that they're trying to turn her into a lesbian so that she will do lesbian things with them, and she doesn't like that, so she decides to somehow trick them into being prostitutes, and she's like their pimp? Did I read that right? And then by the end of the book, she has become a prostitute for another guy, and all of this happens before she's like 20 years old. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm gonna keep reading this book series. And I'm thinking I need to go back and reread I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. I don't know why I was such a hater, but I think about how I felt about that first book, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth because I think about who I was and I wonder what was going through my head back in that times. Yeah, okay, good. Up next, I tried to read the book The Trinity of Fundamentals by Wissam Rafidi. I really wanted to like this book because this is a novel about the Palestinian struggle and resistance against the oppressive apartheid occupying regime of Israel. The main character of the book is under suspicion of being part of the revolutionary group, and so he has to go into hiding. And it's a lot of him in hiding, just thinking about how his life has been reduced to these hours and minutes in this little apartment, just hiding. And it was really rough and just kind of hard to keep turning the pages, and that's why I eventually stopped. And I will say, if you are looking for a book that talks about Palestinian resistance against the occupying apartheid regime, you should check out The 100 Years' War on Palestine, which I've talked about before. Great book. Now, the last book that I attempted to read and gave up on was N.W. by Zadie Smith. The only other Zadie Smith book that I've read is White Teeth, and I loved White Teeth very much, so I was expecting myself to love this. What I found is that this book is being written in a very funky way. It's like artistic and difficult to read on purpose. The story itself was not serving enough for me to feel like it was worth it to power through the difficult to read on purpose format. However, I'm not giving up on Zadie Smith. I do still plan to read the book On Beauty, which is written by her, obviously, because that's what I'm talking about. How many books did I actually fully read this month? 4. But I did spend a lot of time reading. And one of the things that I read the most was actually One Piece. That's right, we're back on our manga grind. This is my sister's box set. This is the last box set they have. In my last video, I said that I read up to volume 72. That's this volume right here. And I have since read, in the month of April, every single one of these volumes. This entire box set has been read. This book is goated. One Piece, best piece. Are you not reading or watching One Piece? Get the heck on it, okay? Either the books or the show, I don't care. Pick your poison, but get on it. Anybody who geeked out over Marvel's Endgame thing, this is bigger. Last thing to talk about is what am I currently reading, and I have it here with me. As you recall, I was trying to read the complete stories of Liu Xun, and I had the Penguin Classics edition / translation, and I was not vibing with it. And so since then, I've ordered different translations of his stories. Both of these books are exactly the same, except this one includes an extra story. This one is translated by William A. Lyle, and this one is translated by Yang Xianyi and Gladys Yang. So I have been going back and forth trying to pick which translation do I want to commit to out of these two. I'm feeling confident about this one. For a long time, it was back and forth. I read it in this version, then I read it in this version. I read the next story in this version, then I read it in this version, and they both have their pros and cons. This guy puts in a lot of footnotes, so you get a lot of added context. This one, though, I think is just slightly more readable, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. That's the style I like. I like to be able to read quickly, and I gotta say, he's such a good writer. His short stories, so good. If you are thinking about reading any of this guy's stuff, do not get the Penguin translation at all. Don't even get it as a joke. You're gonna have to try to find either their translation of it or this guy's translation of it. And good luck with that. And my feelings are valid. Subscribe for more book content or for other content, because I do that too. Leave a like for more book content or more other content, because I do that too. And leave a comment on this video or one of my other videos, because I do that too. And may all your dreams come true, because I do that too. It really is tap water. It's just tap water. Whoa. Keep in mind, this hair does not get cut until we hit 100,000 subscribers. So